People who live in the country can't afford to drive their cars or buy groceries. But no one in Washington seems concerned about this. The economy is fine as far as they're concerned. In fact, Democrats say it's a perfect time to splurge, for real. Our own Bill Melugin is tracking this story for us. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Tucker, that's right. So there's an assortment of media figures and politicians alike who seem to be telling Americans just don't believe your lying eyes when it comes to the prospect of a recession. And the chairman of the Federal Reserve certainly doesn't seem too worried, as he was literally whistling around Washington today as Fox's Hillary Vaughn was trying to question him. Take a look.
Chairman Powell, should the president stop calling it Putin's price hike? You told lawmakers yesterday that inflation started well before the war in Ukraine. So should he stop saying it's Putin's price hike?
And on top of that, Washington Post finance columnist Michelle Singletary demanded that Americans who are doing well, just everybody calm down and back off when it comes to inflation. Take a listen.
You got to stop complaining when there's so many people who literally the inflation rate means they may only have 2 meals instead of 3. There are Americans who did extremely well in the last 2 years in the market. You still have your job. And yeah, it's costing you more for gas, but guess what? You're still going to take that holiday, that 4th of July vacation. You can still eat out. So I'm going to need you to calm down and back off. But overall, many Americans are not suffering as much as they think they are.
And not to be outdone, MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle said it's the media's fault for talking the U.S. into a possible recession.
Another thing the Fed can't do, though, is control media hype or political agendas. In some ways, we're talking ourselves into an inflation frenzy. When you talk about it every minute of every day, then every possible business out there raise their prices. Why? Because they can. Because no one's going to argue, why are you raising that price? Inflation, inflation, inflation.
And if you can't afford your gas or your groceries, there's no need to worry. Democratic Congressman Ed Perlmutter says you can just get a Peloton for much cheaper now. Take a listen.
I think all of us would agree we don't want to see inflation, but we went through a pandemic and we've had shortages. So you could go get a Peloton today at half the price you would have paid a year ago, Mr. Style. And I will.
You can't eat a Peloton. You can't eat a.
And Tucker, on top of all of that, the LA Times wrote an article saying a recession looks inevitable, but it might not be that bad. There was an opinion piece in Bloomberg that said inflation is just a lesson in appreciating what you had instead of complaining about losing what you had. And the New York Times wrote a piece saying a bad economy might end up actually being a good thing. We'll send it back to you.
You'll own nothing and you'll like it. Eat your bugs. Half-price Pelotons. You can't. I assume all that's real, Bill Melugin. We trust you. That's unbelievable. Thank you.
Thanks.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens. Stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson Tonight.